Hello and welcome to That Diary Bee. I've been doing some gardening recently and so far I think I've done pretty well. I've got oranges, I've got carrots, I've got an animal. If you couldn't tell already, we're looking at Pikmin today. It was released in 2001 for the GameCube and it was the first installment in the Pikmin franchise. I mean, you have to commend this game for its impact. The fact that a brand new IP sold this much on a console that sold this little is honestly something. Plus, look at all these great sequels it spawned. And hey Pikmin! But enough wittering on, let's see what this game's all about, and of course the best way to do that is to document my experience playing the game. The version I've got here is the new Play Control version, which is basically the same game but for Wii and with a few extra control options. So let's put the disc in and hope for the best. Right, so the game starts in space with our main character, Captain Olimar, appearing shortly after. He's just randomly flying through space like you do when he's suddenly hit by an asteroid and sent flying down to an unknown planet, or better known to us, planet Earth. Yeah, this game takes place in a post-apocalyptic version of Earth, which sounds very similar to a certain other IP I know. Anyway, you crash land on Earth with your ship broken into bits over the area. What's worse, you only have 30 days until your life support runs out, which to be honest just seems a bit underprepared. Anyway, I soon found this onion-looking thing poking out of the ground, which flew up into the air and spat something onto the floor. I struggled to pick this up for a while before realising that you have to let it grow first, and I felt like an idiot for the rest of the day. This thing is soon revealed to be a sort of plant-animal hybrid, which Olimar decides to name after a carrot brand, which is very professional of him. Hi guys, I found a completely new breed of animal. I'm going to call it Essential Waitrose. So the Pikmin grow in number via these little pellets which they hold and then bring back to their onion. This is what this first level is mainly about, collecting these pellets so you can progress through the stage. Once you have enough Pikmin, you can move this box which opens up a new area, and there you have the first ship part. As well as pellets, these Pikmin can carry ship parts as well, so these things are pretty handy. I mean, unless they're alone, and if they are, these things can't do anything. So I took the engine back to the spaceship, and with that it could finally fly again. Not past the atmosphere of the planet, mind, but it's at least a start. Day 2 and I can traverse the Forest of Hope, which sounded quite promising. There were quite a few walls blocking us from the rest of the forest, but throwing a few Pikmin at it seemed to do the trick. Okay, moving on, and what the heck is that? It's like if Toad and a mouse had a kid. Once that was done with, I spotted the next ship part, tried and failed to pick it up, made some new manual labourers, succeeded to pick it up, and the rest was smooth sailing. I also found Toad Mouse XL, which I swiftly killed but lost most of my Pikmin in. Some property damage later, and I found a yellow onion, which, you guessed it, sprouted yellow Pikmin. So the reason for the different colours is to distinguish between abilities. Red Pikmin are resistant to fire and are stronger, whereas yellow Pikmin can jump higher and hold bombs. Speaking of bombs, there are so many around the area that I'm starting to figure out why this is post-apocalyptic. Day 3 and I blew up a wall and found a new part, and that was pretty much it. On day 4 I found a bolt which Olimar seems to be a bit too obsessed with, and on day 5 I found something that probably shouldn't be left in my hands. This was the day, however, that I could finally escape the Forest of Toads and set off to the Forest Navel. Yes, I said that right. I was here where I found the blue Pikmin which can swim, so no more traumatising moments for me. That was also the first day I didn't manage to collect a ship part in the next day, or as some people might say, my downfall. I did manage to collect it first thing the next day, however. You know what I didn't collect the next day though? Yes, this blue moon floaty thing. I spent too much time and too many Pikmin on this and I don't know why. Skipping ahead a few days, I learnt the valuable life lesson of don't try and build a bridge with 15 blue Pikmin. It takes them like 10 billion years to do it. The next few days were pretty samey, apart from this mushroom thing that I found was pretty cool. Day 15 was pretty productive, having collected about 3 pieces on that day, and on day 16 I went back to the Garden of Hope, mainly so I could see something other than pitch black darkness in the sky. On day 17 I collected another piece, which was enough to expand the dolphin's capabilities and send me to the distant spring, i.e. the Land of Death. I swear these frog things got on my nerves so much that I almost considered showing this game the door, or in my case, the window. This piece took me 4 days to get, I wonder why. I will say, out of the stages in the game, this is my least favourite. I don't know, it seems like you're really close to finding a piece, but then one of these damned frog things comes hopping along and you're suddenly on day 27 with no idea what to do. It was in these last few days, however, that I really tried to step things up. On day 28 I collected 2 pieces, on day 29 I collected 1. Things were really starting to go back to how they were in the beginning, but just like that it was day 30 and I had no time left. I did get something done on the last day though. I beat a crab thing to get one last piece for the ship and then drowned all of my non-blue Pikmin in water by accident. So I guess that was their final goodbye. Anyway, the time had come to set off in my rocket for one final time. So I boarded the ship and set off towards my planet, or at least I tried to.
What?
Yeah, so I didn't have enough parts to successfully take off, so my ship crashed and then I died and turned into an Olimar Pikmin hybrid, so just a normal Wednesday. What makes it more annoying though, is that if I just had 3 more parts, I would have been able to get the normal ending. Like, 3 more parts! But I could have done that easily if the bloomin' frogs didn't get on my way so much in the last 3 days. To be honest though, I don't mind too much. I'll try and get a better ending in the future, but this is fine for now. But that leads us on to 5 things that I like about this game. Number 1, the concept and mechanisms work very well, and are further enhanced by the use of the Wii's motion controls. It is a bit less fluid than later games in the series, but that's to be expected. The use of urgency works really well in this game, and in my opinion, the best in the series. They kinda got rid of the whole 30-day thing in Pikmin 2, and even though they kinda restored the limit in Pikmin 3, it's not the same. The ship pieces are a good mix of easy and hard to get, and they're put in pretty inventive places. For example, I like the fact that you have to take into account that only certain types of Pikmin can pick up the item you're getting. Extending from the last point, the use of boundaries that you can go back through later is a good idea. For example, there's a bit in the Forest of Hope where only your water Pikmin can go through, which you don't get in that stage. And finally, number 5, everything feels very detailed and thought out, and you wouldn't expect anything else from Nintendo. Each ship part has a description, and some of them are actually genuinely funny. The music adds more percussion as you enter more danger, which is a nice touch. But sadly, not everything about the game is good. Don't get me wrong, most of it is, but here's 3 things that I think could be better. There could have been more variety in animals. There are a lot, but the problem is how they're spaced out. It seems like every step I take, I come across a bulborb or that. I know that this is a very small nitpick, but why do I have to wait like 5 seconds for the Pikmin to sprout? As I said earlier, this is the most urgent game in the series, and I can't spend my time picking Pikmin. And number 3. Yes, this is the first game in the series, but the world selection just seems a bit limited, especially when you compare it to the likes of Pikmin 3. Yeah, it's not that much of a deal, but more world selection could have been nice. And that's it. Despite the little nitpicks I have about the game, it's still a very solid experience, and I'd still recommend it 20 years later. Yeah. Hello? Oh. Okay, thanks, bye. Peter now want me dead.